The Caribbean looks calm from above, but beneath that calm surface, something else is moving, fast, deliberate, and armed. For months, U.S. warships, submarines, and stealth jets have been circling the region, and now Washington is looking for even more places to send its military assets. Site surveys are already underway. Officials are examining new bases, new airstrips, and new sea routes, all part of what the Pentagon calls an enhanced counter-narcotics mission. But everyone watching knows this isn't just about drugs. It's also about Venezuela and about power. Because just a few hundred miles south of those turquoise waters sits Nicolas Maduro, the man Washington has wanted gone for years. At first, talk of strikes against Venezuela floated through briefings in Washington. But then suddenly, that talk went quiet. The strikes were taken off the table, at least for now. Yet the buildup continues, and it's getting bigger by the week. A U.S. official told reporters that site surveys are ongoing to decide whether more assets should be sent. No timeline, no list of what's next, just movement. Quiet, steady movement. The U.S. already has a growing footprint in the region. In El Salvador, at least 3 U.S. planes have been spotted, one of them an AC-130 Ghost Rider gunship. Alongside it, a Navy P-8A Poseidon reconnaissance aircraft, one of the most advanced maritime patrol planes in the world, has been seen taking off and landing in rotation. And then there's the mystery jet, an unmarked C-40 Clipper sitting on the same base since mid-October. No insignia, no clear mission, but flight trackers show it sometimes moves alongside surveillance aircraft. That's not a normal transport route. That's coordination. The combination raises questions because the P-8 Poseidon is designed to find small, hidden targets across vast stretches of ocean. And the AC-130? That's the killer that moves in when the target is found. Together, they form what analysts call a hunter-killer team. One locates, the other destroys. Weeks ago, footage of a strike on a suspected drug boat surfaced online. Experts pointed out the glow, the pattern, the way rounds hit, signs of an AC-130 at work. The Pentagon, when asked, said nothing beyond a short line. Details on targeting and weaponeering are not shared for operational security. That's it. No confirmation, no denial. Meanwhile, there's the C-40, usually a transport plane used for VIPs or logistics. Its presence here is strange, too quiet, too persistent. If it's linked to surveillance missions, it means the U.S. is setting up long-term coordination, not just quick raids. But despite the buildup, Washington insists an attack on Venezuela isn't happening, at least not yet. Officials say legal justifications for land strikes aren't there. Even CNN reported the administration decided not to move forward for now. Still, when the Senate tried to block any military action in Venezuela through a bipartisan resolution, the measure failed. That means the door remains open. For now, the U.S. is focusing on the sea and the targets floating on it. Late one night, U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth announced that American forces had conducted another strike on a narco-terrorist vessel. The boat was destroyed. 3 people on board were killed. It was at least the 17th strike of its kind. Over 60 people have died in these attacks so far. Critics call them extrajudicial killings, missions without congressional authorization. But the administration has a different explanation. They label drug cartels as unlawful combatants, giving the strikes a wartime justification. President Donald Trump has claimed that each destroyed boat saves 25,000 American lives, referring to overdose victims. But investigations revealed the boats mostly carried cocaine, not synthetic opioids like fentanyl, the substance killing tens of thousands across the U.S. every year. At the same time, movement at sea tells a larger story. The USS Gerald R. Ford, the U.S. Navy's most advanced aircraft carrier, recently passed through the Strait of Gibraltar. For 2 days, it lingered off the coast of North Africa. Then, according to a U.S. defense official, it moved into the North Atlantic. Its destination? The Caribbean. The Ford isn't alone. It's traveling with 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, the USS Bainbridge, USS Mahan, and USS Winston Churchill. 2 other destroyers from its strike group, the Forrest Sherman and Mitcher, are operating in the Red Sea. 8 surface ships, 1 nuclear submarine, and a special operations mothership are all positioned across the region. Admiral Alvin Holsey, commander of U.S. Southern Command, has been personally touring the ships. He recently visited the USS Iwo Jima, a massive amphibious assault ship that can launch Marines F-35B stealth jets and helicopters in one motion. Over 10,000 U.S. troops now stand ready across the Caribbean, equipped with F-35Bs, AC-130 gunships, MQ-9 Reaper drones, and airlift aircraft. The mission might be labeled counter-narcotics, but this is no small patrol. This is a strike-ready formation. The other side isn't just watching, it's preparing too. In Moscow, officials are openly discussing support for Maduro. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova said Moscow is ready to provide critical support, from repairs of fighter jets to missile deliveries. Russia and Venezuela had recently ratified a mutual aid pact. Now that agreement is being tested. Russian state media confirmed that discussions include upgrades to radar systems and possibly new missile units. And a top Russian lawmaker went further, claiming that Pantsir S-1 and Buk M-2E air defense systems had already been delivered to Venezuela. He even hinted that ballistic and cruise missiles, the kind that can strike hundreds of miles away, could be sent next. If even half of these are true, it signals something deeper, a potential proxy line being drawn across the Caribbean. Through all this, Nicolas Maduro continues to posture. He has mocked U.S. threats, boasting that America has 15 ships and 2,600 missiles in the region. He called them gringos, saying Venezuela would remain unshakable. But behind the bravado, reports suggest a different tone in private. Sources told The Atlantic that Maduro has quietly floated the idea of leaving power in exchange for amnesty, the lifting of a $50 million bounty on his head, in comfortable exile. The contrast is striking. Public defiance, private fear, and in between, warships. 2 days after the Ford passed through the Strait of Gibraltar, the Navy confirmed it was still holding position west of Morocco. The White House said the ship had been ordered to the Caribbean, but the movement stalled. No one knows why. Maybe it's waiting. Maybe plans changed. Inside Washington, discussions have been tense. Senior officials briefed Congress that while sea targets fall under counter-narcotics authority, land strikes in Venezuela do not. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth explained that distinction directly to lawmakers. Almost 70 people have been killed so far in those maritime attacks, and the White House says the president's actions comply fully with the law of armed conflict. But what started as a mission against drug boats now looks much broader. Even Trump himself expressed mixed feelings. According to the Wall Street Journal, he recently told aides he had reservations about launching attacks to remove Maduro, fearing they wouldn't force him to step down. The New York Times reported 3 strategies under review: ramping up economic pressure, backing Venezuelan opposition, and expanding U.S. military presence to squeeze Maduro further. Airstrikes or covert missions remain options, though none have been greenlit. Still, the buildup hasn't stopped. It's grown. Since late summer 2025, the Caribbean has transformed into a floating fortress. An entire layered network of ships, aircraft, and submarines now circles its waters. Surface combatants, nuclear attack submarines, amphibious ships, and stealth jets form a web of U.S. firepower. Together, they create something powerful, a posture capable of striking anywhere, anytime, while projecting deterrence across the hemisphere. At the heart of it are the destroyers: USS Gravely, USS Jason Dunham, USS Sampson, all Arleigh Burke-class warships equipped with the Aegis combat system. Each carries over 90 missile cells ready for surface, air, and land targets. Then there's the cruiser USS Lake Erie, with over 120 missile cells, capable of launching tomahawks that can strike hundreds of miles inland. Under the waves, the nuclear attack submarine USS Newport News moves silently. It can fire 40 tomahawks and track enemy submarines while gathering intelligence from the depths. Together, this fleet holds enough power to control the skies and seas of the entire Caribbean basin. The Amphibious group adds another layer. USS Iwo Jima carries F-35Bs, Osprey tiltrotors, and Marine assault forces. Beside it, USS San Antonio and USS Fort Lauderdale serve as transport and logistics platforms for troops and armor. In total, around 4,000 Marines and sailors from the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit are ready to land anywhere, whether to seize coastal zones, evacuate civilians, or provide disaster response. Up above, American aircraft dominate the airspace. 5 F-35B stealth fighters were recently deployed to Puerto Rico, a significant step showing the mission's seriousness. They provide air superiority, precision strikes, and intelligence through their advanced sensors. The older AV-8B Harriers still operate alongside them, bridging capability gaps. The P-8A Poseidons fly maritime patrols, tracking submarines and ships using sonobuoys and radar sweeps. Meanwhile, MQ-9 Reaper drones hover overhead, scanning the region non-stop for suspicious movements. Washington's line is simple. These vessels carry drugs that fuel America's overdose crisis. Therefore, each destroyed boat equals lives saved. But in Caracas, the narrative flips. Maduro's government has launched what it calls Operation Plan Independencia 200, mobilizing troops and militia across hundreds of coastal sectors. Venezuelan F-16s have been seen shadowing U.S. destroyers. State television shows soldiers drilling with anti-aircraft guns, chanting slogans of resistance. To Caracas, the mission isn't about drugs, it's about invasion. They see the ships as the tip of a plan to overthrow the government. And that fear fuels propaganda, uniting supporters behind Maduro, even as his economy collapses. It's turning into a global chessboard, one with the Caribbean at its center. Because in one corner stands the world's largest navy. In the other, a collapsing regime backed by two superpowers who see this as another front against U.S. influence. For the U.S., this deployment serves multiple purposes. It pressures Maduro, it reassures allies, it deters Russia, and it shows that even after years of endless conflicts elsewhere, America still commands the hemisphere. For Venezuela, it's an existential crisis. Its aging F-16 fleet, limited navy, and weakened economy leave it with few real options. Even with Russian aid, it can't match the firepower assembled just miles off its coast. But this imbalance also makes the situation dangerous. A misread radar signal, a false alarm, or a rogue boat could trigger an escalation neither side wants. That's how small sparks turn into wars. By November, the U.S. presence reached a peak not seen since the Cold War. At this point, Washington faces a strategic decision: keep rotating assets in and out of the Caribbean or make the presence permanent. Ships need maintenance, crews need rest, but the Pentagon might already be planning long-term basing options. That's what the site surveys are really about, finding new footholds to sustain this posture for months, maybe years. Some of those sites could be in Puerto Rico, others in friendly nations like Colombia or the Dominican Republic. The closer the assets are, the faster the response. And in a region filled with narco routes, failing states, and rival influences, that matters. Trump's statements have shifted back and forth, from suggesting strikes on Venezuelan ports to downplaying any plans for invasion. He calls Maduro a dictator who must go, but also says he doubts an attack will happen. It's a policy built on pressure without prediction. Every week, the line blurs further between counter-narcotics and counter-regime. The Caribbean has seen warships before, but not like this. Not this many, not this close. For many locals, it feels like déjà vu, echoes of the Cuban Missile Crisis when superpowers stared each other down across the same waters. Except this time, the roles are different. This time, it's the United States flexing muscle in its own backyard, and Russia quietly slipping in the back door to help a cornered ally. The sky hums with drones, the sea glows under sonar. Every move is tracked, every signal is logged. The region has become a chessboard again, where one wrong move could redraw lines of power. In the middle of it all, the mission continues under its public label, Enhanced Counter-Narcotics. But behind that phrase lies a reality of F-35 sorties, destroyer formations, and precision strikes. Each week, new ships rotate in, new assets arrive, and surveys continue for more. Officials say it's about disrupting drug routes, but anyone watching the buildup can see what's really happening. The Caribbean is turning into a staging ground. As of now, there's no confirmed plan for invasion, no open declaration of war, but the machinery of power is already in motion, and history shows Once machines like this start turning, they rarely stop quietly. The U.S. presence continues to grow, Maduro continues to defy, Russia continues to promise help, and the sea continues to fill with ships. What happens next depends on decisions behind closed doors in Washington and Moscow. Decisions that could decide whether the Caribbean stays calm or becomes the flashpoint of a new standoff. Because right now, every site survey isn't just about concrete and runways. It's about lines being drawn, and once those lines are crossed, there's no going back.